This is the Hagmann and the Hagmann Report for today. It's Thursday, December 20th, 2012. I'm Doug Hagmann. I'm the co-host along with my son, Joe Hagmann. Folks, you're about to hear 3 hours of unbiased and uncensored news, analysis, and information that you need to know in these times. We broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Doc, hold on just 1 second there, my friend. We're live on air, and we're just about ready to introduce you.
Sounds good.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us on the internet at HomelandSecurityUS.com, and you can watch us as well as we are simulcast in the high-def video on the Christians United Broadcasting Network. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. Thank you for your belief and trust in us as we go through this minefield of current events together. Boy, things are happening very quickly today. Joe, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here. I'm very excited to have our special guest, Doc Marquis, on.
Boy, I am too. I got to tell you.
Yeah, go ahead. You've been on this subject. You've been doing great.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had Doc Marquis was a guest in our program here. I don't know. How long ago was that, Joe? It was probably
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Now Doc Marquis is an expert on the Illuminati, okay? And I had you know how when you start looking into things and it leads to other things? Well,
yeah. The way I can explain it is like if you look at 9/11. My dad would have had the official story view of the Illuminati, kind of. Now, since the last time Mr. Marquis been on, he has done so much research, reading books, talking with people, has gained so much information in such a short period of time. I think he's really ready for this show tonight.
I am, and I've got to tell you, what really opened my eyes after having Doc Marquis on was, in the first time, was talking with an intelligence source, someone within the intelligence industry, intelligence business, active currently, who says, look, pay attention to the Illuminati. Pay attention to what's going on. You've got to pay attention to things that you might not believe, but other people believe. And having said that, I started looking into things, and I began, it was kind of pointed to the Olympic ceremony. This source said, look at the Olympic ceremony and understand that the opening and closing ceremonies had nothing to do at all with Olympics. Well, I did that, and then I started taking things apart. Then I went back to Doc Marquis' site, which, by the way, his website. And, folks, I would urge everyone to bookmark his website.
It's a God thing.
Thank you.
Production.
I had it right here. I sorry about that. I was looking at a different screen. But that said, I think it's important for everyone to realize that there are things out there, unseen, powers unseen, that guide certain events, guide certain agendas, and go back to the Illuminati. And with that, Joe had asked Doc Marquis to come back on and spend tonight's program talking about what's going on about the Illuminati. And with that, I would just want to welcome Doc Marquis. It's our distinct pleasure to have you back on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Well, I got to tell you, Doc, you've made a believer in me from the last time you were on our program. And I say that as an investigator of 30 years, skeptical of conspiracies, if you will, or things that things that are unseen, but talked about, but not really, kind of like intangible things. But after looking into, after you providing some information, you convinced me that, man, there's stuff out there that we need to pay attention to. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, I'm only giving you what I had experienced when I was growing up in the Illuminati.
Yeah, well, and you growing up in that environment and turning your life around and coming to Jesus is a miracle. And having the knowledge you have now and being on the right side makes you really
an asset. You know,
yeah, definitely an asset. It brings such an extra amount of knowledge to help the people understand and discern what is going on and why it is happening.
Yeah. Well, Doc, we've gained a lot of listeners since your last appearance, even in the short period of time. We're downloaded in 41 countries now, and we've surpassed over 2.2 million downloads of our program. So
just in the last few months.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, let's start out with giving a brief. Why don't you give a brief narrative of your background for the new listeners, and then we'll get right into the meat of the issue.
Okay. Well, basically, as I explained last time, I was raised in an Illuminati family. Now, this is nothing uncommon because most religions, let's face it, they have their families, they're raising their children to worship in whatever way they're doing. In the Illuminati, it's no different, except I was raised to worship Lucifer. And when I was 3 years old, I was brought to my dedication ceremony. Just like any other religion, they will take their child to their temples, to their churches, what have you, and offer up their children to the service of whatever god they're worshiping. In my case, it was Lucifer. And once I went through my dedication process, I was put into the outer court, which is the Illuminati's version of a seminary. And as I explained before, this is where you're taught all the rites, the rituals, high magic, low magic, the 8 nights of human sacrifice, how to practice human sacrifice, alchemy, spell casting, name it, this is where you learn. So when I was 13 years old, I was brought to my initiation ceremony. And at the end of that 2-hour-long ceremony, they stood me before an altar, and they put 3 things on it. The first thing they put on it was a book that was made out of lamb's hide, and that's known as the Book of the Dead. The second thing they put on it was a crow's feather, and then the third thing they put on that altar was a silver knife, or what's called athame. The high priest picked up that knife, sliced my arm wide open. I had to dip my own. I had to take that quill feather and dip it in my own blood and sign my new occult name in the Book of the Dead. Once I did that, I was a fully initiated first-level Illuminati witch or a druid priest. And on top of going through the ranks, like everyone else, I also had over 200 years of family history to learn and memorize the big secrets, who did what was going on where, everything. And so that was my advantage over most other people in the Illuminati, because I come from a very long family background, and at the time, I was a 7th-generation Illuminati witch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, yeah, and the long and short of it is, it was on April 15th, 1979, after Christians had been witnessing to me for 3 years, I finally understood what I was doing in light of what they had been telling me all along. So it was on that date, April 15th, 1979, that I became a born-again Christian.
Well, fantastic. Praise God for that. And, wow.
Amen to that.
And
yeah, that's the Reader's Digest version.
well, that's a good thing. Well, and folks, and Doc, just for kind of going on a sequence here a little bit, something happened here yesterday that made me think of you. And I'm kind of taking this out of order, but I just wanted to touch base with you on this. When the official report of the Benghazi attack came out, it was 39 pages long, and I had a conversation with somebody in the intelligence world, and he said, all I had to read was the first sentence of your article where you said it was a 39-page report. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, that's an Illuminati number, basically saying the fix is in. Does that make sense to you, Doc?
Right. Well, they're right, because you see, 39 is the only number, occultically speaking, that you can create a triple 13 out of. It's 13 plus 13 plus 13. In other words, if we define it by using a system in the occult world that's known as gematria, this is the ultimate depravity, the form of depravity and rebellion.
Okay, all right. Well, then I started...
Depravity, what we're talking about is depravity heaped on depravity heaped on depravity. In other words, someone was really up to something really down and dirty this time.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's kind of what he said. Now, the other thing too, the report was issued 69 days after the attack. So, in other words, 69 might have. He said, "Look at that as well." Does the number 69 have anything to do with? And I know this is just one situation, but I'm just curious.
Well, it can because it forms the only astrological symbol. It also can be used to represent sacrifice, such as human sacrifice or murdering someone. You see what I'm saying with that?
Yes, kind of like the. Yeah. I'm not even sure what that symbol is, but
Well, it just takes the the 6 and 9, put it on the side, and put a curve on it. That's the symbol for Pisces.
Okay. All right. Very good. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name for that, but okay, I got you. All right. Well, I just wanted to bring that out because that's one example one recent example of how of my experience here with respect to Illuminati. So that said, Joe, you were talking before the show about how we were going to. You talked to Doc about this and about the way the program is going to go.
Yes, we had a short conversation yesterday, talking about what is important, what needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
Well, we are. There's so much hype around the Mayan calendar, December 21st date, and it is December 21st, basically in half the world right now, and the world is still here. We have. There's a satanic New Age agenda tied into this December 21st thing, and it is a devil stealing souls from the Lord through these deceptions, doomsdays, aliens, all these different attractions that they put out there to try to make life after death, and there's more to life than just the myth of the Bible, as they would say. Mr. Marquis, 21st of December, all the hype that we've seen for the last couple of years about it, in your opinion, do you think anything is going to happen tomorrow or today in some parts? And if so, would it be physical, spiritual?
Combination, maybe, or what's the deal? What's the deal with the Mayan calendar, the 21st of December 2012?
Okay, well, if we go with all the hype that's been generated over this issue, and it's been going on now for 3 years, and for the last 2 years, I've been warning people on every single radio show I've been on not to fall for it. This is simply another Illuminati smokescreen. You see, if we go by the proponents of the Mayan calendar, supposedly, and I must emphasize the word supposedly, at exactly 11:11 a.m. tomorrow, the world is supposed to be destroyed. And what really confuses the issue is that, globally speaking, there are 28 major cultures that have a similar sort of doomsday scenario, and that's not counting all the individual prophets and prophecies, such as the prophecies of Mother Shipton, Brother Malachi, three of the biggest phonies in history, Nostradamus, Edgar Casey, Gene Dixon, they all spoke of these things. So we're looking at a huge box that contains so many different versions of something that's supposed to happen tomorrow. And if it doesn't, if you can't believe it, it's actually going to get worse, because there are some people who are cleverly saying, well, this is going to be a spiritual transition, a form of enlightenment for the world. Some people will achieve this enlightenment tomorrow. Others, well, it'll take a couple of years. So you see, this rhetoric could actually drag on for a couple more years now. And that's all it is. It's simple nonsense. It's an Illuminati smokescreen. That's all it is.
Yeah,
if we go by what the scriptures tell us, first of all, it says the earth is always going to be around. There's no doubt of it. The earth is never destroyed. Second of all, if we go by, all these supposed stories, well, someone's, wrong and someone's right. Remember, some say that tomorrow the planet Nibiru is supposed to pass so close to us, or maybe directly hit us, that's, going to destroy us. And that's not counting, the Hopi legends, the Cherokee legends, the Mayans, the Aztec, that tell us some type of transition is going to happen, or at least that's what the people tell us. You see, the truth of the matter is, people are not reading the Mayan calendar correctly, because it states that there's going to be a sixth age. So in other words, tomorrow, the fifth age ends and the sixth age begins. There's nothing there that calls for a doom or gloom scenario. This is just hype. And what? Planet Earth is supposed to line up with the sun, and the sun lines up with the galactic center of the universe. Well, okay, but that doesn't mean we're going to get such horrific tidal gravitational forces that it's going to destroy us. And what about those people who, not using scientific principles now, are stating that tomorrow there's going to be some sort of giant coronal mass ejection that's going to slam into the Earth and destroy the ozone in the atmosphere, and we're going to fry and die. See, this is just hype. The Illuminati is purposely keeping us misdirected from trying to see what they're really up to. And for 2 years now, I've been warning people that according to the Illuminati timeline, which I still remember, between 2013 and 2018, some nation in this world is supposed to face some sort of huge financial crash. I mean, something so cataclysmic that it's going to force other nations of the world to finally get together and seriously consider creating a one world currency. That's what they're hiding behind the smoke screen. And I started talking about that to you 2 years ago. And 2 years later now, well, you got to give it to Barack Obama. He certainly knows how to sink the American ship.
I got to tell you, Doc.
Let's face it.
Man,
let's face it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If we look at all the previous presidents prior to Barack Obama, if we were to take up the total amount of national debt that all 43 of them had created, Barack Obama, just one person, has doubled what those 43 presidents had done. One person doubled what 43 other presidents had done.
Absolutely.
Now that's what I call damage.
Indeed, and I've been every time I've investigated, or every turn I've made with respect to investigating the so-called debt crisis or the currency crisis, I have found that I've come across indications of this global, this scheme, this plan, this agenda by a group of people to take us to a one world currency, and in a short period of time. When did you say this was going to take place, Doc?
According to the timetable, it's supposed this beginning event is supposed to happen between 2013 and 2018.
Okay, all right. Wow.
And you know what's interesting? The one viable solution all of this fiscal disaster or fiscal cliff that was supposed to be jumping over at any time now, get rid of the Federal Reserve, get rid of the IRS, and put us back on the gold and silver standard and give the entire operation over to Congress where it belongs.
Oh, I'll second that.
If you look at the example of Iceland, they told their Federal Reserve, because they finally figured out what was going on. Enough people had heard of it, and enough people had finally had enough of it, that they literally told those bankers, get out of here. We don't owe you any debt on your so-called fake money, and we're taking control of it like it should be. And Iceland is out of debt, and they're making profit, and I mean huge profit now.
Yeah, exactly. They are, and we need. Alex Jones talks about that, and how they got out of that particular crisis, the fake orchestrated crisis. Now Doc, boy, 1,000 questions right now, but I guess I'll settle down here and focus on a couple of things. One thing I've got to ask you before we get too far into the program. In many things that is on my radar, and Joe, yours too, right now. We come back to the Olympic ceremonies of 2012, and it's almost as if, and I know we talked about this when you were on last time. But the Olympic ceremonies of 2012 seem to have revealed an agenda or the agenda of the Illuminati. Am I on the right track there?
Oh, you're absolutely right. But in order to get the full picture, we have to actually go back to 1936. It was during the Berlin Games, which was hosted under Nazi Germany, under, obviously, Adolf Hitler, who was a puppet of the Illuminati, where they first began infiltrating their belief system into the Olympic Games. It started in 1936. You see, we look at the modern day Olympics, the last one, let's say 2012. And we see the Olympic torch, the marathon runners, the Olympic cauldron, and so many other aspects of it. But what most people don't realize are those things that I just listed and a whole lot more are not part of the Olympic Games. They never were a part of it until 1936, when the Illuminati introduced those elements into the Olympic Games. Every single one of those new elements have a very specific Illuminati meaning to them. And when we look at between the years 1996, where this, shall we say, the first part of this story begins, all the way to present date, 2012, you're absolutely right. There is a giant story that's being told here. And the long and short of it is that the serpent god, a.k.a. Lucifer, is coming back. That's what, I'm in the middle of writing DVDs 12 and 13, which are being called Illuminati Gods at the Olympic Games. I'm about halfway through with them right now. I'm trying to get them done, finished as fast as I can so I can put them out there for everyone to see what's really going on with the Olympic Games. But you're absolutely right. This is a huge story that's being told through the Olympic Games. And anyone who understands the true occult nature and belief system of the Illuminati, it's very obvious to them. And when we look at the Phoenix bird that was used at the conclusion of the London Games, there's absolutely no doubt, if you look at the symbology with the rest of the story that had been told up to that point, there's no doubt whatsoever that the serpent god, Lucifer, is coming back.
Wow. Okay.
And he's coming back, according to the Bible, to set up his throne to be like the Most High.
Right. And folks, let me
exactly. That's what he tried to do before the Great War. He thought he had a right to be, put on the sides of a north and set up his throne, just like God had. Well, Satan made one very huge miscalculation. He forgot he was a created being and not the creator.
Ah, okay. All right. Which, that would be important. And folks, I just want to give out, I've got about 7 requests for your website. Yeah, Doc Marquis' website, it's a God Thing Productions 777.com. So as we're talking about this. One question about the Olympics as well, Doc. The timing for the 2012 Olympics occurred, it seems, during the final transit of Venus, at least for this generation and for.
Okay, that wasn't the important thing we should look at. The timing was exactly 13 days before the night of human sacrifice. That number 13 pops up again.
Oh, wow.
That's what's important to note. And where it was located is where Greenwich Mean Time used to be measured. That's where the Olympic Stadium was, which means since the stadium is there now, and the stadium was circular, this creates, occultically speaking, what's known as a crossroads. Now, all crossroads in their cult are considered sacred ground. This is as sacred to the people in the occult world as a church is to anyone who practices Christianity. And because it's a crossroads, let me tell you, can be physical, can be spiritual, and can be temporal. By temporal, I mean it can be a crossroads in time.
Okay.
And that's what we were looking at here. This was sacred territory. Notice it was circular. Notice the capstone of the Order of the Illuminati ringed around this circle. There was 14 of them. And notice that through the center of that stadium was a serpent symbol.
Okay.
This, beyond any shadow of a doubt, verifies that the time has arrived in which the serpent god would now begin to come back. That's what just that little part of the symbology translates into.
Okay. Now that's a lot to think about.
Yes, it is. The crossing over, like you said, the transit of Venus we talked about last night.
But then
the spiritual shift, the openness of the more ritualistic things they're doing. And I have a question in the chat room, and about the Connecticut the shootings in Connecticut, and the question is it, Doc, in your mind, were these kids sacrificed? Was this a sacrifice?
Blood sacrifice.
Or was this more, would you say, just a regular event happened as is reported?
Well,
and I'm not sure how much you...
I'm getting information right now, and I have to wait to see what will be found on that damaged hard drive. But information has leaked to me that one of his friends was saying that he was interested in Satanism.
Yeah.
Supposedly, that kid also had some sort of drawings or things or pictures related to Satanism on that hard drive. Now, whether or not this is completely true or not, I can't verify it without seeing what they reveal on that hard drive. But it's interesting to note that here we have, yet again, another kid who was on medication. Now, I'm very familiar with the various drugs that they've been giving these kids, and I can tell you right now, a number of them not only will cause hallucinations to appear to these kids, but they can also create psychotic episodes. And when I study the pattern, once again, here we have another kid who, under any normal circumstance, by friends and family, had been considered to be docile. But the medication, again, comes into the equation. And once again, what's the banner being flown right now? We got to get rid of all the guns. Well, isn't this exactly the same sort of banner that was flown as Hitler was assuming power in Nazi Germany? Well, we've got to get rid of all the guns, you know, and as soon as they did that, there was an immediate dictatorship.
Yeah, we went over that.
The biggest problem, and now mind you, I was watching Piers Morgan tonight, the other day, because I'm saying to myself, this has got to be good. And sure enough, he was one of those people touting for, you know, well, there's 250 million guns in America. We've got to get rid of them all because in Great Britain, no one has any weapons and there's only been 25 murders. Well, guess what, Piers? In Switzerland, the law, the government themselves give their own people, when they turn 18, a gun, and globally speaking, they have the lowest level of crime, period. And the reason why they have the lowest level of crime is because everyone's armed. That means if people have weapons to protect themselves, you're going to think twice about, you know, just trying to shoot them or take their property. Now, if people don't have weapons to protect themselves, they're sitting ducks.
Exactly.
Yeah, they are. And this is the goal.
But getting back to what we say, there's a pattern that's being formed here. We have, you know, an individual or individuals who have some type of mental health problem. They've been given very specific drugs that I know, because of my medical background, will cause hallucination or psychosis, which means they're going to go out with these weapons that they will acquire that they, that they themselves, more often than not, have been getting from friends or relatives, and then going on these killing sprees. The problem is not the weapon, it's the people. And the people that's been doing these things, as I said, are people with known medical backgrounds, as far as, you know, mental health problems go. So this is just, as I see it, just another ploy to try to strip us of all our weapons. Because the truth of the matter is, if the government just tries to take away our weapons like that, you're going to see a civil war. That's what's going to happen. Americans and Americana is based upon our individual rights and freedoms to protect our family, our friends, our loved ones, our property. And this is also a God-given right. And yet, we have people out there who are looking at the issue right now with their emotions rather with their intelligence. If you look at this with your emotions, yes, you're going to follow the banner. Oh, you know, we've got to stop all this from happening. Well, guess what? Medically speaking, you're treating the symptoms and not the cause. Get to the root cause of the problem, and everything else will fall in place.
Very well said. Doc, I should say this. I was in a gun store today. I had some business to take care of, and I saw an entire area of the gun store empty completely. The shelves were empty, and I asked the proprietor. I said, what's going on there? And he said, we are all sold out of AR-15s and semi-automatic rifles. And I asked him if he was going to get any more in, and he laughed. He said, you cannot buy an AR-15 or an automatic rifle anywhere close to around here They sold, this particular store, a small one, sold 28 in the past 3 days. And the other store down the road sold 75 in the last week. There's panic buying of automatic weapons. So what you're saying, though, but being part of Americana, there are people out there that are afraid that their guns are going to be taken away, or that the semi-automatics are going to be, rendered illegal. So I can confirm what you're saying. But do you think, Doc?
Now, have you ever heard of the 29 Palms questionnaire?
No, I have not. No, we haven't.
Okay. This will help you understand what's going on. You see, back in the days of our co-presidents, Bill and Hillary Clinton, questionnaire was given out to Navy personnel. Now, the whole of it is actually a psychological profile, yet they were just saying it's a simple questionnaire. It was not. I believe it was the 40th question, the last question. Now, they proposed the following scenario. The United States government has issued a ban on certain semi-automatic weapons. Everyone is given a 30-day amnesty period to turn in these weapons. Excuse me. However, at the end of those 30 days, certain groups, basically malicious patriots or anyone like that, have refused to turn in their weapons. And here's the question, would you, as a United States soldier, open fire on a United States citizen?
If I was a soldier, no.
Wow.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. We were most fortunate that the vast majority said no, they would not. And here's where it gets interesting. As soon as Clinton found out that the vast majority of our own fighting servicemen and servicewomen would not open fire on their own people, he sent a little bit more than half of our standing army overseas. He closed down and demilitarized half of our standing bases, while at the same time inviting NATO forces, UN forces, Chinese, Russian, and certain other forces to be trained at these same demilitarized bases using our own military tactics. You see, just because our own people won't open fire on our own citizens doesn't mean another nation won't do it.
That's very true.
That's why we're in the problem now. Those bases, and I'm up to a little bit more than 800 known concentration camps sitting on American territory right now.
We define concentration camps. I mean, are we talking like FEMA camps? Is that what you're referring to?
POW camps. Prisoner of war. The one in front of the sign in front of the POW camp in New Jersey. It's an army. It's an army base. It right there. The sign purely says POW camp. I don't think it's going to get any plainer than that.
No, you're
now,
right.
I've got my possession the bidders' contracts on those concentration camps. I've got photographic evidence. I've got whatever it takes for anyone who doubts this is going on to turn them into an instant believer. Because the fact of the matter is, all the evidence, I've got documentation from the U.S. Senate and other places that verified not only are these concentration camps, POW camps, please, are in existence, but they're fully operative. And when I say fully operative, I mean armed, loaded. They've got everything you could possibly expect of a fully operative POW camp. And there's a little bit more than 800 of them right now on American territory. And if the government ever decided, let's say, to use the gun regulation or take them completely away from American citizens as an excuse, where do you think they're going to be putting all those troublemakers?
Oh, well, I think we know the answer to that. Obviously, in those camps.
Quite obvious.
Right.
This has been going on a lot longer than most people realize. There's been a lot of wheeling and dealing to get it to this point. Now that they've got everything in place, they're just going to try to come up with the excuses now. And look at how the pattern's been forming. Again, it's not a regular citizen who has any type of normal background. So far, these last shootings, someone has been taking medication and been going on and shooting people. This is the pattern.
All right. Now, do you, and I know Joe asked you this question about this being an Illuminati blood sacrifice or a blood sacrifice. I won't say anything beyond that. It's interesting because Rick Wiles from True News today on his page says a CIA informant states that a major attack is going to occur on 1/11, 2/11, or 3/11. And then in parentheses, it says the Illuminati loves the number 11. Can you explain that?
Yeah, the person's wrong.
Okay, all
Short
right.
and sweet. I hear this same rhetoric from so many different people. It's absolutely nonsense. There is a very specific time and dates when any type of sacrifice will be performed. What was the exact date again of this Newtown, Connecticut massacre again? Anyone remember?
It was 12/13/20.
13 or 14?
12/13/12.
Okay.
December 13th.
12/13/12. Hold on a second. Let me do some quick calculations. No, it's not the one.
I'm sorry, the 14th.
Because it was on the 15th. And trust me, just because it was on a day that had a 13 does not make it a sacrifice, okay?
Doc, I'm sorry. I gave you the wrong information. It was December 14th, 2012. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, hold on. December. Let me wind this back. October, November. No, the dates doesn't fit in. No, it's not a sacrifice.
Okay. All right.
No.
Interesting.
Sorry. It's not within the pattern. It's not.
Okay, so what would be the pattern, or can we discern a pattern? For example, Illuminati obviously loves the numbers.
Yes, but I'd rather not say it on the airwaves simply because this information I usually give over to law enforcement agencies when they're working on a particular occult crime, so they know if this is related to a particular occult group. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And
suffice it to say, and really, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, but this is very sensitive material that I only give over to law enforcement agencies. But I can honestly tell you right now, it does not fit in with any known occult pattern.
Okay.
That date would not be considered a sacrifice.
Okay. And thank you for clearing that up, because we've had a lot of questions about that. So Doc.
No, I mean, it's completely wrong. It's totally off.
Okay. All right, good. So, okay, let's walk back here. Let's go back just a few steps here. Doc, why don't you tell us what's on your radar right now? Because you've got your finger on the pulse of the Illuminati, the world leaders, the movers and shakers. You know what's what. What's on your radar? What's on Doc Marquis' list of things to be concerned about?
Well, as I said, one of the most immediate things I want everyone to keep an eye out for is for a financial crash between 2013 and 2018. Now, it's going to happen to some nation around the world. Which one the Illuminati is going to choose, I don't know, because back then, when I saw the timeline, there was no designated nation at the time. But then again, there doesn't have to be, because as it is right now, there's only 3 or 4 nations left that the Illuminati, through the Rothschilds, who are the head of the Order of the Illuminati to this very day, that doesn't have one of their central banking systems in it. And check, anyone who wants to, go through the history books, look at various nations throughout the world that was involved in any type of major world war. And a lot of them, quite a vast number of them, did not have the money to support any type of confrontation, let alone get involved in any sort of long, drawn-out war. But yet, somehow they got the money. Well, they got the money through a central bank that was located within their nation. And trace that central bank, and I guarantee you, it'll go all the way back to the Rothschilds themselves. And there's been a number of times in history that certain nations owed the Illuminati, through the Rothschild, so much money that at any time, legally, the Rothschilds could have foreclosed on the entire nation. And so because they have that type of financial control, they can determine which nation they want to, between 2013 and 2018, to use as the example to force every nation in the world to try to sit down and come up with a one global currency. Now, this is not going to be a paper currency, mind you. You see, any time anyone has tried to block the Federal Reserve System, literally speaking, they've been murdered. Abraham Lincoln tried to block the Federal Reserve System from coming in. They executed him. One of the more recent ones would have been John F. Kennedy. He was going to completely spill the beans on who was really running the government, and that his intentions was to get rid of them and to put us back on gold and silver. Well, they got rid of him. Anyone who tries to stop their central banking system is destroyed. You see, it was in 1838, Maya Amschel Bauer, who was the head of the Rothschild family at the time, he stated, "Allow me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who writes its laws." And he was right. Whoever pulls the purse strings makes the rules. So this is why I'm warning everyone, you've got to keep an eye for an up-and-coming financial crash. Secondly, keep your eye towards Iraq and Israel especially. Right now, the wars that's going on within that area falls under what's known as Supernation Number 7. I have a very old Illuminati map in my possession that was drawn up before the conclusion of World War II. The map itself divided the world into 9 regions. However, once the Illuminati created, which group was it? It wasn't the Council of Foreign Relations. I'm thinking of another group.
Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg.
The Council of Rome.
Oh, okay. All right.
Club of Rome.
Right.
Because there were 6 major front organizations the Illuminati created to perpetuate their plans for the New World Order. And the Club of Rome is one of them, the Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, the United Nations, the Bilderbergers, and the Royal Institute of International Affairs. All 6 are front organizations for the Illuminati to perpetuate their plans for the New World Order. And it was the Club of Rome, once it had been created, looked at that map, and they altered it a little. So instead of 9 supernations, the Illuminati now are setting up a world that has 10 supernations. And it's very interesting that that's exactly what the book of Revelation chapter 13 points out.
Yes.
We're going to end up with 10 kingdoms.
Yeah, and that also represents the 10 toes in the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's dream.
Yes, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. Exactly. And so what's seen right now is the formation of supernation number 7. That's why everything is going on there right now. And once they're done with that, they're going to move on to one of their other supernations. Which one it is right now, I don't know, because it's really up to them to decide which part of the world is going to become supernation number 8. But they've got to create all 10 of them.
Wow. And that fits with a global economic collapse, doesn't it? Where they could perhaps, could these be trade zones, if you will? I'm asking the question.
Well, think about that for a second. if you don't have, and let's say for a second, let's say at first they issue, let's say, some sort of smart card, okay? Well, eventually, they're going to have to create something that is not easily accessible and that cannot be stolen. The only thing that fits this description is the bioelectrical implant chip, or what some people refer to as the RIFD chip.
Yes.
Now, I've got the biological implant chips in my possession. Any one of those chips can hold up to 1,400 pages worth of information on any person. That includes your entire background, your medical background, your financial background, your educational background. Name it, it'll be on it. Among other things, it can be tracked by satellite to within 6 inches of where you're standing. In other words, a satellite floating 20 miles overhead can track you to within 6 inches. So don't think you're going to get away from Big Brother. It's not going to happen if you've got that chip.
There's nowhere to run.
And that chip is also going to act as your bank account, because you're not going to get dollar bills or any type of paper currency, and you're certainly not going to get gold or silver. You're going to get debit points, X amount of computer points that will allow you to buy and sell. Now, here's the flip side of it. If you don't take that chip, you have surrendered your ability to buy or sell anything. And literally speaking, at that point, they've got you. Because think about this. Let's say you don't have a bioelectrical implant chip. One of your children gets injured. I mean, an injury that will take his life if he doesn't get help soon. And you go into the emergency room. Well, they say, sorry, we can't help your child because you don't have a chip. How many parents are not going to take a chip to spare their child's life?
That's a good point.
I mean, we see people turning in their guns for flu shots, imagine.
Or for, food, yeah.
Wow. Faced with a choice that.
But,
think about how they're going to do this now.
And that's going to be concurrent with that. Okay. That's going to be concurrent with the...
And once they've got you in that position, they've got you entirely now.
Yes.
So don't think we're going to literally, and I mean, at first, they're going to be trying to get us onto a one global form of paper currency. They've already been conditioning us to accept that by changing our regular greenbacks into monopoly-colored money. That's what they've been doing. That's why they've done it, because that's what the euro dollars are all about. It's multicolored paper currency. That's why ours have been changed, so they can condition us into accepting this. What's going to happen? Yes. Slowly they're going to try to bring in this one form of world currency, but I guarantee you, folks, it's going to end up as debit points. And interesting enough, when we look at the scriptures again, Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 18, it tells us that everyone is going to have to take a mark, a name, or a number that's indigenous of the beast. Interesting enough, it says this mark is going to be in, not on, but in the right hand or the forehead. Now, that means only one or two possibilities exist, because it says in. That means it can be done, medically speaking, through a laser tattoo that's subdermal, or they will take a bioelectrical implant chip and just simply inject it under the skin. Interesting enough, again, and I hate repeating myself, interesting enough, but here it is again. Scripture says it's right hand or forehead. The bioelectrical implant chip will work on the right hand or the forehead, but it does not work on the left-hand side because of the body's natural bioelectrical field. It distorts the signal.
Wow.
So here we have another prophecy that's sitting right in the wings, waiting to be fulfilled. It won't work on the left side.
That's very interesting. Yeah,
interesting indeed.
Heard that before. No, and Doc, we got a couple minutes before the first break. I wanted to ask you, would you mind if we took callers this evening, maybe the second half of the show?
Whenever you want. I mean, please.
Okay. We have so many people that have so many questions, typing them in our chat room, sending them through email that we could not ask them also. What we'll do is, people, if you want to call in, give us a call at 661-244-9839. In the second and third hour, as we are talking with Doc Marquis, we will go through and take callers throughout that time period, and he can answer your questions. And we have...
Well, do me a favor, Joe. Would you please also give out my email and my phone number in case people aren't able to ask a question on the show?
Yes, I will. I will do that now.
And while you're looking for that, folks, I just want to say this. I've had the pleasure of viewing 2 of Doc Marquis' DVDs. Let me tell you something. Doc Marquis has put together a fantastic presentation in his DVDs. They're available at itsagodthingproduction777.com. Click on the DVDs there. There are a number of DVDs available there with trailers. And I got to tell you, I was, and I'm not big on sitting and watching things like this, but Doc, I got to tell you, you did a great job in putting these together, and the information that you provided was on point, focused, and it was something even I could understand, and I could see how it related in the topical matter to present day events, which even made it even more engaging. So that's my personal endorsement of your DVDs. They're just fantastic.
And Doc's information.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, they were great. I have to watch them again. Hopefully, me and him my father can watch them together.
Yeah.
And
it's a learning experience, folks. It's something that, and I don't want to sound like an infomercial, but when you've got folks, when you've got like a book or a DVD where you can learn something, grab onto it, and this is stuff that's so relevant, so current. But go ahead with the information, Joe.
You can email Doc Marquis at Doc Marquis, that is DocMarquis 777 at yahoo.com. And you can reach him by phone at area code 402-228-9476. That's 402-228-9476. And let me tell you something, this man is very knowledgeable. He is very nice and respectful. And, a lot of times it's hard to get guests on. People have ego problems and all kinds of different things. This man is a genuine, good individual from every experience I've had dealing with him. So don't be afraid to contact him. He will answer your question. And if you want to ask a question tonight, live on air, give us a call at 661-244-9839. We are going to go to break right now. We'll be back after these few short messages, about 3 minutes long. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Thursday, December 20th, 2012. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eilena Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the Internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the Internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies that work right there in your neighborhood. KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations that work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Hold on to your seat. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying with us. We are in hour number 2 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for this Thursday edition, December 20th, 2012, of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. Our very special guest is Doc Marquis. Doc has a website, and the website is, folks, write this down, bookmark it. The website is, it's a God Thing Productions 777.com. We will have it linked on HomelandSecurityUS.com directly to Doc Marquis' website after the second or after the next hour. It'll be a direct link, so you can go to HomelandSecurityUS.com and go right to Doc Marquis' website, and we will also have his email and contact information there as well. Doc, welcome back to the program, and I want to thank you for staying with us and for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure, kind sir. You know, there is one thing I wanted to mention I forgot to bring up. I had a very strange phone call early this morning, and the individual told me that they were absolutely terrified of what was going to happen tomorrow. I mean, this person, you listen to them, it sounded like they were on the verge of a complete psychological collapse now. And after talking to them and using common sense and showing them in the scriptures, nothing's going to happen, they left with, let's put it this way, with a much more peaceful disposition. And I just want everyone to realize nothing is going to happen. go to work, for goodness sakes. I don't know how many people are also saying they have no intention of going to work tomorrow because that's it. Why bother going to work? And I don't know how many people at the same time have maxed out their credit cards because they're thinking this is it. There's even right now, and it's in the Bahamas. Yes, I believe it's the Bahamas. A cruise ship, and the whole theme of it is end of the world cruise.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a state of utter insanity. That's been going on for 2 to 3 years now. And if we look carefully, as I said before, behind all this rhetoric, behind that Illuminati smokescreen, you could see that they're once again whittling down America through Obama by getting these illegal laws by the Constitution passed without us keeping an eye on them. It's the old pea and shell game. They keep you so distracted you never know where the truth is.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
So keep an eye out, ladies and gentlemen, for tomorrow, because nothing is going to happen. You're going to get up, you're going to go to work, you're going to come back from work, and December 22nd is going to come just like any other day.
Yeah, and it's truly amazing to see how much money has been siphoned out of people who believe that the world is going to end tomorrow through buying bunkers and the end of the world kits, and like you said, the cruises. There has been basically a market for the last 3-5 years that has been created just for this day alone. I'm sure billions of dollars have been spent.
And I got to tell you, Joe, CNN International is reporting today that 9 months from now expect a population boost because of people, procreating or attempting to procreate tonight.
Well, yeah, because, the same thing happened after World War II. We had the baby boom. Human nature took its course, and babies were being produced. And and let's face it, the same type of fear tactics the Illuminati used for the year 2000 scare, the Y2K.
Yeah.
It was the same tactic.
Yes, it was, and we saw what happened with that. Life went on as normal, except for a few, minor instances of people acting crazy. The biggest fear I have about tomorrow is the cult people, the people who would hurt themselves or their families because of the fear factor involved. And that saddens my heart.
That's what happened with Heaven's Gate with Comet Hale-Bopp. Remember, Comet Hale-Bopp was supposed to be a harbinger of doom and gloom, and yet, according to that preacher who was the head of Heaven's Gate, if they all committed suicide, spiritually speaking, they'd be able to hitch a ride on a so-called UFO that was hiding in the tail of Comet Hale-Bopp. This is the one thing I've been most fearful of, above all things, is that people are going to commit suicide over this. They did it with Hale-Bopp. They did it with the 1938 broadcast of War of the Worlds, and I just don't want to see history repeating itself.
Amen, Doc. I am with you there, especially when it is damaging. This fear is helping people with, bringing out their mental illnesses, defects in the worst way, and it's very destructive. Let's go to some phone calls. We have some people calling in. I'm sure they have some excellent questions, and we're going to start with area code 423. You're on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report with special guest Doc Marquis. What is on your mind tonight?
Good evening, gentlemen. Hi, good evening. This is Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
I have a question for Doc. A lot of people in the chat room have been asking about the movie Batman, and apparently the name Sandy Hook was on the map in the movie Batman. And, Doc, you speak to the fact that the Illuminati hides everything in plain sight, and they use Hollywood and the music industry, et cetera. Would you address that concern, please?
No, of course, Carrie. Unfortunately, I did not see that particular movie, and now I'm going to have to because I'm just not, big Batman genre fan or anything like that, you know. But you're absolutely right. They will hide plans and such that they intend to carry off in the near future. One of the quickest examples I can give you right now was in the movie Knowing. Have you seen that movie yourself, Carrie?
No, I haven't, Doc. I have not.
Okay. In the movie itself, it's all based upon a sheet of paper that has a series of numbers on the back side and front side, written by a little girl and put into a time capsule at some sort of grammar school. It's unearthed, I think it was 25 years later. And what most people don't, what you find out through the movie is that the numbers are actually dates and the longitude and latitude where disasters or what have you are going to occur. Now, Nicolas Cage, when he was going through this movie, he sat down at 11:59 in the evening and turned on the television. While he's watching it, the news comes on, and he sees it's now midnight, according to the clock, and they announce that there's a giant oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. He looks down at the piece of paper. Now, it was just a split second, but I caught something out of the corner of my eye there. I rewind it, froze the picture, and sure enough, dead center of all those numbers were the three numbers 666. So I knew for a certainty that event was going to happen. Plus, if you haven't heard of them, the Illuminati playing cards. Those playing cards also predicted the BP oil spill. When I looked at both of them, there was no doubt about it. The cards and the movie both pointed, and I stated this for the record, that event was going to happen. Now, you said with the Batman movie, what was it that you said it was some sort of location again?
Yes, during one scene in the movie, there was a map on a table, and they were talking about a GPS coordinate, and they laid down the walkie-talkies or GPS or some kind of electronic device on top of the map, and right next to where they laid it, the only words you could see on the map were Sandy Hook.
Okay, and what is putting it for Sandy Hook for you?
That's where the shooting happened on Friday the 14th.
Right, I'm just verifying the facts. Okay, making sure that's, what you were thinking of. Well, now, when did this movie come out again?
That I don't know. I have not personally seen the movie. I have only seen some videos on YouTube about the incident.
The Aurora shooting.
And the movie is...
The Aurora shooting at Colorado. The Colorado movie theater shooting at the Aurora movie theater in Colorado was of the during this playing of the Batman Dark Knight.
That was the premiere, I believe, that night.
Yeah.
Wait a second. You're right. I remember that now. Okay. Now, what's the exact title of the movie? Because there's so many Batman movies now.
This is the Dark Knight. This is the last Batman movie was with I think it was Heath Ledger, and he played the Joker, and he died of a drug overdose shortly after. And I haven't seen this movie, The Dark Knight Rising.
Yeah, actually, I've got the information right here. The Dark Knight Rises, 2012, according to the IMDb, the International Movie Database. The movie came out on. It was released on July 20th of this year, 7/20/2012. And that was released in the United States and the United Kingdom. It is 165 minutes in length. And I don't know what else I can give you that would be relevant, but it's called The Dark Knight Rises. And that, of course, is a sequel, if you will, to the Batman movie of 2008.
Now, it's interesting you said July 20th, because that would be a time when a sacrifice could be performed.
Based on the gematria or the numerology?
Well, based on gematria and numerology.
Okay. All right.
You could do it within that window. The best time in that window would be August 1st, which is the night of Lunarsad. But the 20th is well within that same time zone. You could actually do it on that exact date. It couldn't be a day before or a day after, but it would be exactly on the 20th. You could do it. And it's interesting, you're right, I just remembered, Heath Ledger did die, didn't he?
Yes, that was, that was from the 2008 version, and that came out, the 2008 version called The Dark Knight, 152 minutes in length. That came out on 18th of July 18th, 2008. So
it's very interesting that the heroic massacre had happened then.
Yes. Okay.
And could I ask one more quick question, and then I'll hang up so that other people can get in? Could you spend a moment, Doc, sharing with us the difference between, or just your views on spiritual warfare in the natural versus spiritual warfare in the spiritual?
Okay, you're going to have to tell me more specifically what you're going for, because that could take years to go through.
Well, I guess maybe the broader question, or for myself, is, I just would like to know, what is the biggest mistake we make as Christians when we are confronted with spiritual warfare?
Easy. The vast majority of them are chickens. They don't have enough faith to believe they have the power of God in them to where that they can get rid of demons if they really want to. It's easy enough for us to go to church on Sunday and get our Sunday morning fix and say we're Christians and then live like the devil for the next 6 days. The problem is we don't put our so-called faith to the test. If we look at the life of Jesus Christ, whenever he went throughout the various cities or towns around the Judea province, the Bible notes a very interesting event. It says, wherever he found great faith, he could perform huge miracles. But in those places where there was little faith, he could only perform small miracles. And that's the problem. We just, we will say with our mouths, oh, I believe in God and I believe in this, but no one's putting their faith to the test. You see, faith is the only single catalyst through which a miracle can occur. Nothing else can allow a miracle through any human being to occur. If you don't have the faith to do any of this stuff, don't even think you're going to be able to bind the demon and get rid of it. It's not going to happen, because you may have the power, you have the ability, because all power and authority was given unto you through Jesus Christ the moment you got saved. But if you don't have the faith to exercise that power, nothing is going to happen. So my whole point behind this is we need to start exercising those muscles, and that's what they are. Faith is like any other muscle in the human body. The more you exercise it, the bigger it will become. So exercise your faith then, and you'll be able to handle these spiritual problems.
Oh, thank you, Doc, so much. That has helped me so much. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Tonight.
God keep you.
All right, God bless. Thanks, you.
Terry.
That makes sense too. What Doc said about the muscle part.
So interesting that falls on a ritual day, that Aurora Theater shooting, and there are similarities between the two, the Connecticut and the Aurora. But that Aurora shooting happening at the premiere of the Dark Knight movie was definitely interesting at the timing and the way it happened. That the shooter was apprehended outside after he shot all those people, like he was in a trance. Once he hit his car, he just, didn't know where he was and was confused. We'll move on to another caller here. Area code 414. We're coming to you now. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report with special guest Doc Marquis.
Hello. This is Renee calling from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, Renee.
Got a question for you, Doc. I read that the occult calendar is comprised of 4 periods of 13 weeks relating to the sun solstices and the equinox. And I saw that on the 21st or through the 22nd. It's called winter solstice. Yule, it's referred to as the Illuminati.
The next night of human sacrifice is on the 21st, known as Yule. You see, there is a definitive numerical pattern the Illuminati used to pervert the American occult calendar to where they could establish, numerically speaking, the 8 nights of human sacrifice. As you pointed out, the next one is Yule, which is December 21st. And Yule is the time in which the winter god, or the god of the occult world, is coming back in its full power. And this is why, among other things, December 25th was chosen as the night of Christmas. You see, the truth of the matter is, there is absolutely no biblical precedent for Christmas. I mean, no reason at all other than occult reasoning. There's no Christian reasoning behind it. Because, first of all, let's look at all the manger scenes that's going on, throughout America. Well, we've got Mary, Joseph, Jesus is in that little crib. We've got animals, camels, oxen, sheep. We've got the wise men. We've got a couple shepherds. Well, first of all, the wise men never made it. They weren't there. Look at Luke chapter 2, everyone, if you don't believe me. Read the account. Because the wise men, when they saw the so-called star of Bethlehem, they were on the other side of Asia at the time. It took them 2 years on camelback to get from where they were all the way to Bethlehem of Judea. That's why when they went to, and I always forget his name, that one person who was in charge at the time, they went to see him and asked about Jesus Christ. What was his name? Someone help me. Someone get me a theologian. I can't remember his name. Well, they went to him, and he said, well, I haven't heard of this King of Kings, but when you find him, let me know. Well, when they finally found him, he was in, with his mother and father, and he was 2 years old. He was 2 years old. Right. Now, if you look at the biblical account again, there's no mention of oxen or camels or any other critters around. None. There could have been sheep because we know the shepherds and saw Christ. That's a possibility. But anything else is out the door. The Christmas tree. People, it doesn't get any more occultic than having a Christmas tree. Read Jeremiah chapter 10, 1 through 6. And don't fall for this where people saying, oh, well, the person is taking that tree and made an idol. Excuse me, you don't cut down a tree to make a little idol out of, please. That's nonsense. The gold and silver that they put on the Christmas tree, those are the two colors that represent Nimrod and Semiramis, the co-founders of witchcraft, the oldest religion on the earth. Nimrod is represented by a gold five-pointed star, which, by the way, is on people's Christmas tree, and Semiramis is represented by a silver crescent moon. This is why the tradition of putting up gold and silver trimming on a Christmas tree came about because of the occult practice of it. As far as the gift-giving, the big feast, and the wine and everything else, that comes, again, from the occult world because of the birthday of Tammuz, the child of Nimrod and Semiramis, who was born on December 25th. Wow. There's nothing Christian about Christmas, people. We have got to get this one right. This is a greater perversion than even Halloween.
Hey, Doc, I've been battling with this, especially this year. more and more evidence has been pointed out to me that backs up what you're saying to be accurate. And, how hard is it going to be to convince your family and friends, not to celebrate Christmas?
Let me ask you this question. People are always saying, well, I want to be blessed of God and I want to be used of God. Well, how can you be blessed or used of God if, whether you realize it or not, you're practicing occult practices that were forbidden by God himself?
Yeah. That's a painful truth. And I say we should celebrate his birthday every day, equally.
We don't know when his birthday was. This is the problem. It can't be the 25th, because if we look at the timing of the taxation of Caesar, and we compare that to when because remember, the scripture also says that the sheep were still out in the field when Christ was born. Well, ask anyone who's lived on a kibbutz in Israel or any rabbi. They will tell you the sheep are never out will only be out in the field until the second week of October at the latest, because it gets too cold.
Right.
So that means the birthday of Christ was before the second week of October. And going by the historical account of the taxation of Caesar at that time, that was the early part of the first week or second week of September. So it falls somewhere in between that time period. What it is, we don't know. And if it was important, it would have been dated in the scriptures. We have plenty dates and plenty of accounts in the Bible about such matters. But remember, it was Christ himself who said we're not supposed to be putting one day above another. And that's what we're doing when we hold onto that occult pagan festival, which we have candy-coated and Christianized and called Christmas. Yeah. What do you think I was doing in the Illuminati? Good grief, people, let me tell you. There are people in the occult world right now that have written in their own books, and I've got a number of them, where they are frantically chiming against the Christian world for stealing their occult religions, practices, and holidays. And you can owe that one up, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to make no apologies for it, to the Catholic Church. They're the ones who took it, candy-coated it, Christianized it, and said, it's a godly thing. Well, the scripture says, woe be to them that call evil good or good evil. And I'm going to get off my box right now before I keep rabbiting on.
No.
One other thing, and then I'm going to hang up, Doc. Going back to the Olympics, there was some footage that was never shown, and it showed, I guess during the second part, that last ceremony of the Olympics, where they didn't show references to Batman and Robin, and then there was a float of, here in Milwaukee, the Sikh temple was ambushed, and there was a shooter who shot several people there. There was a float with Indian men dressed that same way during the Olympics, and it's interesting to me how they cut that out. They didn't show that. You wouldn't have seen that on TV. But I read
The problem was, in my area, I wasn't able to see the beginning or the closing ceremony. So if you've got that link, send it to me and I'll examine it for you.
Oh, okay. Renee,
send it to my email account. I'll take a look at that for you. And make sure
I sent that to you before, the information that I had at the time.
I don't
recall.
Okay.
But honestly, hon, I hate to say this, I don't recall it, but I get about 150 to 200 emails a day, so sometimes I just don't remember.
All right, Marie, I cut you off there. Thank you for your call. If you want, you can send it to us, and we can forward it to him to make sure he gets it, and we appreciate it.
And I want to say this, Doc, we have on our website, HomelandSecurityUS.com, a direct link to your website along with your email address. So, folks, anybody with questions for Doc, go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, click on his website. It's A God Thing Productions, and also his email address is listed right at the top of the page. You can't miss it. Formulate the questions and send it off to Doc. So.
Right. Or if you want to, you can find me also on Facebook.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Listen, have you been noticing the wonderful censoring that they've been doing on Facebook as a result of Newton, Connecticut?
Yes. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I have gotten a number of emails about that. What are you seeing,
Doc? Well, I warned people last year. I warned them last summer to keep an eye on Facebook censorship. And people were telling me, oh, well, they can't do that because this is, against our amendment rights. Well, that isn't what they're saying. Right now, I've got a friend whose site was actually down for 3 days because supposedly he violated Facebook rules or whatever you want to call them. I went through those rules. I didn't see any way that they could have justified their action.
What does that tell you, Doc? I mean, what conclusions do you personally and professionally draw?
So those people who think that Facebook is not being controlled through our government, they've got another thing coming because only the government could have forced that type of censorship to have occurred because, again, going by all the rules and regulations I read on Facebook, nothing there justified what they did. They try to say, well, he was speaking out against what happened in Newtown. Well, first of all, people have spoken out against so many different things on Facebook that I can't keep count of it. Second of all, how can they have picked out one person in particular unless someone is putting down certain catchwords, so if anyone speaks against it, that they can catch them. Again, that means someone's actively looking for those people who's speaking out against this event. And I believe that they're finally beginning to realize that people are beginning to see the patterns we've been speaking about all along, and that they're afraid that this is something that's going to spread. In other words, we've got to keep the masses ignorant.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The article, Facebook suspends accounts for questioning official narrative of shooting, and it has happened to various people on that social networking site. And what reasons would they have to do that other than...
How dare we question the official report? Oh, my goodness, heaven help us all. Well, aren't people still questioning the official report of the murder of John F. K., 9/11, and other things? Well, I don't see those being banned.
Yeah, you read my mind.
It's only when it comes to suddenly a new move for gun control that people are being silenced.
And that is the underlining agenda, because they know that an unarmed population is a vulnerable population. We went through a history of...
It happened in Nazi Germany. That's how they did it.
In Turkey,
they took away the guns first, and after that, no one could stand up against anyone in the Gestapo or any other of the agencies within Nazi Germany.
Yeah, and I just want to add this. It's just starting with this Connecticut shooting. They will continue to censor, like you said, they're picking out keywords, key people that are putting out this information, and the censorship will just get worse as time goes on, as they continue to try to cover up what they are doing. We're going to move on to a call.
This is not going to be the last incident. It is not going to be. Not because of, we've got rampant chaos going on in the streets. No. But because they're going to push us and keep pushing us until the camel's back has broken. The Illuminati's writing And this is in the Protocols of Zion. And again, I've written about this in the DVD series. I've got the evidence there for anyone to examine it. They state that they're going to put us, America, into a state where we will be involved in so many wars that our own people will accept peace at any price. They don't care what they do, just so long as we and the rest of the world are so sick and tired of war and all the violence, we will do anything to take peace, and they don't, and we won't care at what price. And it's interesting that it was once said that if we surrender our right to defend ourselves for peace, we're gonna have neither peace nor peace of mind.
Wow, amazing. We're gonna go to Dana. Dana, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report with Doc Marquis.
Anyways, let me finish by saying, Joe, you mark my words, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the last incident. It is not. I guarantee you it's not going to be, because the people have not been brought to the point where they're sick and tired of it all. If nothing else, a lot of people are going the other way. They're beginning to realize something else is going on, and that it involves our own government and other governments of the world. But you mark my words, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the last of it.
Wow. And that's what we said, we are not submitted totally. Dana is on hold here. What is your question for Doc Marquis?
Yeah, hi, Joe, Doug, and Doc. Thanks for having me on. Doc, I was wondering, I have a couple of questions real quickly. One, do you, by any chance, happen to have any testimony that you could share with us in regards to seeing the fruit of intercessors praying that has actually frustrated or failed the plans of the Illuminati as a result of intercessory prayer?
Hold the thought. I'll give you a perfect example. It happened to me personally. I was living in Germany at the time. I was heading one of the bigger covens in that area. And where I was not too far away, by the way, from Bavaria, where it all started. At the end of a particular, and this was during the night of Wissa, at the end of the ceremony, we always concluded with what we called petitions. Consider it the occult version of praying, okay? Now, what we did at the end, we would summon up a particular demons to hear whatever petitions the coven members had. Now, I'm going to describe to you the only way I can describe to you what I had physically seen with my eye. Now, I could see the demon we had risen, okay, we summoned. Now, whenever a petition was given to it, there'd be a couple of seconds pause, and you'd see what I saw, what sort of like almost like a fluorescent bluish ball of light shooting out and away from the demon. That told me there was another demon going out to take care of whatever the petitioner had asked for. That's the only way I could tell you what I saw with my eyes. That's what I had seen. So anyway, a number of petitions had been done, and all of a sudden this one demon comes back, and all hell broke loose. The demon said, "How dare you send me to one of the enemy? You know we have no power over them." At that point, one of the coven members, the 13 officers, had stepped out of the circle. And when that happened, that demon screamed out, "That one is mine." He flew down. He flew straight through that person. And at first, none of us thought anything happened. But as I'm alive and breathing, within the next second, every single member of his body just fell to the ground. I went to my bosses in the Illuminati, and I demanded to know what happened. At that point, they explained to me that the enemy that demon had no power over was a Christian. And the reason they gave me that that demon had no power over the Christian, they told me that Christ had found a form of witchcraft that they yet still could not overcome, but that they were working on it.
Amazing.
That's what I was told, and that was, how old was I back then? That would have been 37 years ago, and I've never forgotten that event to this very day.
My goodness.
That's powerful. And I think that's awesome. I'm so glad that you shared that, because we really do need to know the power, like you said earlier, that we have in our faith in Christ. If we don't, we're screwed. We're going to be taken.
Exactly. That's what it comes down to. If we don't believe it, why are we bothering?
Amen. I've seen.
Give it up, folks. Walk away. Make room for others who want to do the dirty work. But if you don't believe it, if you're just carrying a title, if you're just chanting a name, do me a favor. Get in the background where you belong, because you're going to have to go up to the front lines where it's the dirtiest and the hottest that there is. If you think you're suffering for the Lord right now, you don't know a thing.
Amen. Amen. One question I want to ask you about was in regards to these movies that they put out, like, Dark Knight Rises, for example, that's been the focus. My question is the movie that is coming out in June of this coming year called World War Z, and this is about the zombie movie with Brad Pitt in it.
Oh, someone shoot me now. Please shoot me now and get it over with. I am going to scream. I am going to scream. I'm going to scream. I swear I'm going to. Let me think about this. We've got people right now, maybe they need medication, I don't know, that are actually looking forward to a zombie apocalypse. Now think about this. Yeah. I want to live in a scenario where I have to run for every single day of the rest of my life, hoping I've got enough food, hoping I've got enough water, hoping I've got enough ammunition, hoping that I can find enough hiding places to duck down from these people who want to eat my brains out. Now that's something to look forward to? I mean, what are these people thinking of? It's coming down to the fact that they're going to enjoy killing people with justification and getting away with it. Well, they're zombies, so I can enjoy the fun of killing them. Excuse me, people. First of all, medically speaking, you cannot create a zombie. Now, as I'm living and breathing people, I don't know why I do this to myself. I really don't. I think I need medication at times. But the other night, I watched a show called Zombie Apocalypse because I will be writing on this. Trust me, I will be covering this topic in the new series. And I'm watching these people. And forgive me, folks, because I'm not a mean-spirited person. I'm really not. But when I looked at these people who were proposing and looking forward to a zombie apocalypse, you could tell by looking at them, they were beaten up a lot on the playground. Yeah. They were. Yeah. And they're having, believe it or not, they're actually channeling their trauma towards a fantastical event that can never come about. And these people, I am not kidding, they are preparing to the hilt for a zombie apocalypse. And they actually had some person who had to have been completely bonkers from Harvard University, one of the professors there, explaining how zombies, how you kill a zombie, how they were animated and all this. I wanted to ask that bozo, and what evidence are you basing this upon? They're using that one event that happened last year, if you remember that guy during the summer, that guy that was having his face spit up by that other guy.
In Miami.
Yeah. Excuse me, that's not a zombie. That's a person who was tripping on drugs. And then they were citing different cases of cannibalism in the past. Well, guess what, people? There's a difference between cannibalism and being a dead cadaver coming back to life that we call zombie. And yet, this is something we're supposed to be looking forward to. God help us all.
Well, I was more curious of whether or not the Illuminati is using this as a conditioning of people's minds to try to mind control, if you will. To try
no. Trust me, hon, this is something that they're sitting back and laughing at. Because this is one of those exceptions where they can actually sit back and look at the overall stupidity of people run rampant. They didn't need to lift a finger for this. No. People are very, are more than capable of coming up with something like this on their own. Just like everyone wants to blame Satan for something, no, trust me, we're more than capable of being sinful enough to cause those events ourselves.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And one last question. Is there a connection between Obama and the Illuminati? I mean, do you believe...
No, and the reason is he's too stupid.
Okay, so same scenario.
No.
Okay.
At the best, he's a puppet. And none of the information I've received on him so far has stated he has any involvement. Though I do know he's been at, I think, one of the Council of Foreign Relations meetings. I've got a photo to verify the fact. I will always show you the evidence. Trust me, in the DVD series that I have, if I say it, I will document it, I will prove it. And at this point, trust me, the guy's just too stupid.
Okay, well, thank you so much, guys, for taking my call. And thank you, Doc. I sure appreciate your information.
Well, God keep you, dear.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I've got a question here by email from Byron out of the UK. Please ask...
If it's about zombies, I don't want to hear it.
No, it's not. Please ask Doc if Hillary Clinton is heavily he asserts that witchcraft is part of the Illuminati, is the religion of the Illuminati, or a religion of the Illuminati. Is Hillary Clinton a witch? That's his question.
Well, actually, she's a fourth level Illuminist. Bill is a third level. Yeah, You see, this is where the confusion came in when they were the co-presidents, as I call them. You see, problem was people couldn't tell who was in charge, because at sometimes it looked like Bill was, and then sometimes it actually looked like Hillary was. Well, what people didn't know was both of them are in the Illuminati. He's a third level, she's a fourth leveler. Now, when orders are coming down from the federal government, well, he's the president. She had to take orders from him. However, if orders were coming down from the Council of 13, she's a fourth level Illuminist. He had to take orders from her.
Ah, wow. So it's a trade-off thing. Well, not a trade-off.
Well,
but
in that case, yes, because both, in one form or another, had authority over the other.
Okay.
That's where the confusion lied.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, Byron, hope that answers your question there, my friend. And thanks for listening in the UK.
All right. We're going to go to Sheila next on the line. Sheila, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report with Doc Marquis.
Sheila, you're up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sandy.
Or Sandy, you're up.
Yeah, Doug, Joe.
Hi,
got a question. Someone told me that there was a ritual that was performed. Remember that guy that called in, I think it was night before last, and talked about the SRAs?
Yeah, the SRAs, the ritual abuse.
Satanic
SRA stands for Satanic Ritual Abuse.
He said they were going to be loaded on a plane and taken to California and sacrificed.
Yeah, we did have a caller.
You know anything about that?
Yeah, okay, Sandy. Thanks for your call. Doc, what Sandy's referring to is we had a caller last night, I believe it was, who said that tomorrow on the 21st there would be sacrifices made at Bohemian Grove. I believe that was one of them, right?
I'm not sure about that, but the main thing he said was the people, survivors of satanic ritual abuse, would be gathered together and put on planes on different parts of the country.
Okay.
Now, their destinations, I don't remember, but I know that it wasn't clear the reasoning why. It was just brought to our attention.
Yeah, what do you know about that?
Okay, now, if I understand what you're saying correctly, every person that was supposed to be loaded on this plane was an SRA person?
Yeah, and there were supposed to be multiple planes with these SRA people.
Quite honestly, I don't know how they could have pulled it off.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, that many people who are all SRAs?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was all.
I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how they could have done that.
Well,
and the timing would also be wrong.
Okay, all right. Well, all right.
If any sacrifice was going to be done, it would have to start tonight at midnight. Between midnight and 3 o'clock would be, and I hate to say this, would be the prime time for such an event.
All right.
And that was the other night.
Okay. All right. Well,
we have to consider the logistics of what that person's claiming.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I don't see how that could be espoused. I really don't.
All right. Well, let me.
I would really need a lot more information than just that.
No, I understand that. It was kind of sketchy, and we were up against some time constraints with that question. But now, Doc, let me buttress that question with this: the Bohemian Grove issue and the Illuminati. What do you know about what goes on there specifically?
Everything.
Yeah, I know. Remember we talked about this last time we were on the show.
Question. No. Let me get into this. It's interesting you should mention that because I've already finished writing DVD 11, and it is going to be called Dark Rites and Rituals at the Bohemian Grove. Oh, wow. I am blowing the lid off of that puppy like no one's business. Now, I waited, and I do realize that I believe it was 10 years ago, Alex Jones produced something on the Bohemian Grove, correct?
That's right, yes.
Right. Well, one of the things he was able to show in the film was the cremation of care ceremony. That really was just about the only thing of any real interest, no offense. But no one has said anything about that ritual. And I waited 10 years purposely. I promised myself. As years went by, if nothing was said when 10 years came by about that ritual, whether or not someone thinks I'm trying to hog the limelight or not, I was going to make a DVD on it and expose that ritual for what it is. And beyond any shadow of a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, there is certain elements that have to be implemented in any genuine occult, a.k.a. Illuminati ritual, if it's the real thing. And this is, something that you just can't, there's no exceptions to the rule. These elements have to be there. Every single one of those elements was met at the cremation of care ceremony. Not only, now, on the DVD itself, it took me an hour just to go through the entire ceremony. It's a lengthy one. It really is. And I break it down, and I show you step by step exactly what's going on, occultically speaking. And at the end, ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion is obvious. But there's a lot more to that DVD that I'm going to be producing after that. But when it comes to Bohemian Grove, ladies and gentlemen, presidents have been chosen there. The creation of the atom bomb, the Manhattan Project was created there. The most powerful people on the earth go there. See, I always call the Bohemian Grove the Illuminati summer camp.
Yeah.
And I can document just about any person you can think of that's been there. I've got the photos. Oh my goodness, there's so much. One thing for those of you people who's not familiar with this, whether or not Alex Jones accidentally said the wrong word or just didn't know it, that owl, there's a 40-foot owl there that they worship at the Bohemian Grove. That is not emblematic of Moloch. That is not. Understand, that's a complete different deity now. That would best be associated with Baal or with Lucifer directly. Let me explain this.
Welcome to CUBN Christians United Broadcasting Network. Welcome to CUBN.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I did not hear you press at least 4 digits of your
Doc,
PIN
I just
number.
want to let you know, we did get cut off while you were talking, and I am on a landline right now, and we're trying to fix this out.
I'm sorry.
Problems here. It was interesting. Right when you went to say, "Let me explain," we cut off, but you were not cut off.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Yeah. Doc, I got to tell you, you
Welcome
are
to Blog Talk Radio.
now.
Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
On a regular basis. The interference, we get scrambling, we get direct people cut off, disconnected, unable to call back.
Our menu has recently changed.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
More than 14 million listings of different sites was using my name. Well, something started happening. 3 days later, mysteriously, it's dropped to 8 million. Then it came back to 10 million. Now it's dropped in less than 2 weeks, all the way down to 1 million.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So there's a deliberate censorship.
I'm sorry?
There's a deliberate censorship on this information, on the availability of this information.
Someone's trying to block the truth from getting out there. As I said, look at my own account. I know 14 million doesn't drop down to 1 million in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's definitely something to take notice of. And we have our own stats here where we can tell how many people listen per show. And on nights where we have big shows, I have screenshots of the numbers of listeners decreasing as time goes on, when actually they're increasing, because we have them gauged at other places as well. Folks, we're up against the break. This is the end of the second hour of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
What a fantastic, John, I didn't mean to interrupt, but what a fantastic hour with Doc Marquis there. That was engaging. He's on fire tonight.
He is, and it's great. And we're talking about the Illuminati. We talked about the satanic element of the Mayan December 21st date. And we'll take your calls and more on the other side. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Thursday, December 20th, 2012.
Hi, folks. Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eileen Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
If you are stumped, you don't know what kind of gift to give to a friend or a loved one, I'm telling you, you must go to 4physics.com. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. This is your one-stop shopping palace. That's the only way I can put it. I could spend easily an hour on this website. Innovative, fun, educational. There are games, books, weather instruments, unique time-telling devices, jewelry, optical devices, laboratory equipment. Let me give you an example. We all know we can tell time with a sundial. You've seen those advertised. Did you know that you could tell time by the stars? At 4physics.com, you can buy a horologium nocturnum. This was a navigational device used in the 15th century by navigators at night to tell time by the stars. It's beautifully crafted in the shape of a pendant made of bronze and pewter or gold and silver. Absolutely a stunning gift. I would be proud to give it to anyone. You must go to 4physics.com. Even if you're not stumped, that's 4physics. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. It's your one-stop shopping palace. Any problems that you have, I don't know what to get Grandpa, I don't know what to get my loved one, that's unique, you will find it at 4physics.com. Please take my word for it. Go to the website, but give yourself a lot of time because you're not going to want to leave. 4physics.com.
Doug Hagmann. One guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, our third and final hour with our very special guest, Doc Marquis. Doc Marquis' website, It's a God Thing Productions, 777.com. Folks, you can visit his website, go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, click on the link there. And as a matter of fact, on HomelandSecurityUS.com, you can actually see what Doc Marquis looks like. It's the picture of the dapper individual on our website.
How about an old-looking man?
I wouldn't say that. Doc.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Well, fair enough. During the break, I was just thinking about a couple of things. One thing in particular, the Illuminati obviously has a this global agenda, and we're witnessing, at least from what I've been able, and Joe and I both together in research have been able to determine, this race to a global conflagration, a global war. And the one thing that I keep coming back to is Syria, Iran, Israel, that whole Middle East tinderbox over there, and kind of Arab Spring.
In other words, why there? What's going on?
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. What is going on here?
Okay, let me explain this. This is on my third DVD in the series. It's called it's either the fourth or the fifth. I'm getting old. I wrote a particular DVD. It's the fifth one. It's called The Illuminati's Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. Now, Joe, do me a favor. You've got my email address. Send me a reminder tomorrow to send you and your dad DVD number 5 on the protocols. All the answers are there. You see, there is a particular document. A lot of people have heard of it. It's called the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. Now, what most people don't realize is that that particular document is a coded Illuminati document that was never meant to fall into the public's hand. Never. But it was stolen by a child lady, or, well, in England we call a cleaning lady a child lady, okay? And she stole it from a very high-ranking member of the Masons. Yeah, you see, the Masons were taken over by the Illuminati July 16th, 1785 at the famous Congress of Wilhelmsbad. But anyways, the document itself contains the 7-part plan as penned by Dr. Adam Weiss himself. Dr. Adam Weishaupt was the very first head of the Order of the Illuminati when it was officiated back on May 1st, 1776. The 7th part of that 7-part plan called for the creation, and in the original Latin, as he wrote it, the Novus Ordo Seclorum, or the New World Order. You can find that on the back of a dollar bill under the pyramid. There's a 3-letter expression under it that says Novus Ordo Seclorum, or New World Order. Now, as I said, on DVD 5, I completely go to the document and prove how all 7 parts of the plans have been fulfilled, and the 7th one is being worked on right now. Now, during the middle to the late 1800s, the second head of the Order of the Illuminati, Giuseppe Mazzini, was in contact with Albert Pike. General Albert Pike, who was a general who fought for the southern side during the Civil War, because of Giuseppe Mazzini, was eventually elevated to the position of being the head of the entire southern jurisdiction of all 3 Masonry now. Now, Pike and Mazzini had been in constant correspondence, and what had happened between Pike and Mazzini, they devised a 3-part plan that would literally force the world through treaties and different agreements to eventually end up in 3 world wars. Now, World War I and World War II happened spot on according to those letters now. The 3rd World War, now this is how it's supposed to begin, where you're going to see the Islamic nations rise up against Israel. And what are we seeing going on right now?
Well,
exactly that.
Yes, exactly.
You look at the writings of the Illuminati, as I said, I spelled it all out for everyone on DVD number 5, which is the protocol. Well, I called it the Illuminati's Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. I figured to give credit where credit's due. But you look at all the information there, because I have in my possession, and this was verified by a former FBI director, that I have in my possession the only genuine copy of the English translation of the protocols itself. This copy was never supposed to have survived. And I mean, great lengths had gone to making sure that all the originals were destroyed. One survived, and I've got it.
Wow.
And I took from the protocols itself, and I'll show you. It's right there, people. You'll see this on the screen itself. I will show you the documents. I will take you through it. You will see all the plans and everything, and you try to tell me if this hasn't happened, historically speaking. That document is a timeline of events the Illuminati had planned to do, had accomplished, and are planning to do. And the seventh part of that plan, remember, calls for the creation of a new world order, according to Dr. Weishaupt's own original writings.
Wow. Okay. So we're seeing we're actually seeing the Illuminati's realignment of nations playing out.
Of their plans. If you read that document, it would be as if you're reading yesterday's newspaper, or I should say tomorrow's. You would see what's coming down the road, and it is happening exactly as they wrote out.
Wow. Okay, that's frightening because
I must put this remembrance out there. Everyone, remember that's a coded document. When I did that 5th DVD, I in the very beginning I broke the code. I told you exactly how it works. You apply that code, and you're going to understand that that is not some sort of document that represents a Jewish Zionist conspiracy, which is ridiculous. No. Once you apply the code, you will see for yourself that it's an actual, genuine, bona fide Illuminati document that was never, ever supposed to fall into anyone else's hands.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
I have a question here from a listener who says that about Project Monarch, the mind control project, and they want to know first how big it is with the Illuminati, and secondly, can medical professionals be trusted today with doctors issuing medications for these problems?
Well, okay, we have to understand that most doctors out there, they're good people. They're really trying to help people. But they're falling for the party line. They're being told the FDA approves of this, so they're thinking, well, it must be good. They don't know better. With the Project Monarch, yes, it started off as something small, but it's grown terribly and almost out of control. And we have to understand, people, that at one point, this entered into the direct control of the United States military under the PSYOPs division. And the head of the PSYOPs division at one point was Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, who created and started the Temple of Set, which is an offshoot of Anton Zander LaVey's The First Church of Satan. So, yes, there is major occult ties in it, but it's all under the umbrella of the Illuminati now.
Interesting.
Well, that does make sense. Go ahead. That makes sense.
Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino was the second most powerful person in the in the First Church of Satan. However, he got into a big argument with Anton Zander LaVey about where the First Church of Satan was going. So they basically a schism happened. And according to Michael Aquino, he said he had a vision from the Egyptian god of the underworld known as Set, that he, Michael Aquino, was not supposed to start the second age, which was supposed to be under Set himself, which is why he called it the Temple of Set. Now, Zena LaVey, and trust me, people, there's a lot of in-house fighting here. Zena LaVey, the daughter of Anton LaVey, left her father's church and married Nicholas Schreck, who was the head of the Order of the Werewolf, and both of them jumped Daddy's ship and joined Michael Aquino's. So you now got, the big players from the First Church of Satan entering into, this new age of Set with Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, who is in charge of all of it.
Okay. So, yeah. Lots of connection.
It can get confusing, but trust me, you'd be surprised all the big names and all the big people that's involved in all this.
Okay. I'm going to interject a question here from Rob in Seattle, Washington. Is it a true statement that the Illuminati is following the King James Version of the Bible to the letter in terms of advancing their agenda?
Well, you see, let me explain it to you this way. First of all, they know beyond any shadow of a doubt. The one Bible that's the true Bible is the KJV. And that's the reason why, and ladies and gentlemen, listen to this carefully, and that's the reason why, starting in 1970 exactly, they started coming up with different perversions of the Holy Scriptures. You see, they knew, and you have to understand, the Illuminati is very meticulous. They knew that ever since the 1611 translation of the Holy Scriptures, people were actually getting saved. The world was being put back, on a very good moral compass. And this was because of the 1611. And they had to destroy that. The reason they had to was because they had to change the moral compass of people. And the only way they could do that was, first of all, get God kicked out of the public arena, such as high schools and things like that. Next, they had to bring light down to where it was almost completely worth nothing. That's why during the same period of time, during the early 70s, they were funneling literally tens of millions of dollars to not only get the abortion laws passed, but to set up these clinics. And if you study the way children are being murdered at these clinics, every single one of them falls within the correct parameters of a genuine human sacrifice. Third, the Illuminati, as I said, had to now attack the Word of God, the 1611 translation, by perverting it. The only way they could do that was not to try to change the KJV, but to come up with supposed better translations. And if you look at the way they did it, especially with the NIV, or what I call the New Illuminati Version, major portions of the Scripture have been removed. Sections involving the name of Christ and salvation have been removed or glossed over or changed, and changed in such a way that if you move Jesus Christ in the mention of salvation, well, people, you've got a Bible that you can't get saved through now. You've got so much, gobbledygook there, but you've got no message of salvation anymore. And at this point, there's literally a little bit more than 100 new perverted translations. The very first one I remember, because I was in at the time, it was called The Way.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. When and mind you, we had to read it. I mean, not cover to cover, but we were told to read certain passages to see what we thought. Oh, my goodness. I couldn't believe I was picking up the enemy's text and reading it. But anyways, I read it, and I thought it was absolutely perfect, because there was no way people was getting the message. There was no way. You couldn't get saved by reading that junk.
Wow.
And Oh, yeah. Oh, when I said they're meticulous, I'm not kidding. A number of us had to read that. And it was a perfect rendition for that day and age because it leaned very heavily towards mentality of the flower children and the hippies.
Right,
It
right.
gave you that type of New Age mentality, and that's how it was written in that style. Read it, and if you're old enough to remember, ladies and gentlemen, what the mentality was like then, the styling and everything, you'll see that the way it was written, the style and everything, lines up perfectly with the flower children in the hippie days.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that. Doc, you mentioned 1970. What's the significance of that year when the perversion started?
Nothing in particular.
Okay. It was just okay.
It was just the right time. You
All
see, okay, well, okay, let's go. Let's just take it 1 year before that in 1969, okay? Because this is a part of let's say, occult theology. I really don't like people to get into because so many people will want to try to figure this out, jump up and down, and blah, 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 and I really don't like that. But 1969 is the year when, according to those people in the occult at the time, the Antichrist was born. And there's also a movie that the Illuminati sponsored to announce this. And that movie was called Rosemary's Baby. The movie Rosemary's Baby was directed by Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski's wife, Sharon Tate, Sharon Tate, was murdered by Charles Manson and his followers, and it was an Illuminati hit, ladies and gentlemen, because Sharon Tate, at the time, she was in it per se. She was in it because she was a movie star who wanted to make it to the top, so she signed a blood contract vowing to follow the Illuminati seven-part plan towards the creation of a new world order. But, like a president and certain other people, you don't have to necessarily attend all the coven meetings or SBATs, but you have to toe the mark when they tell you to. That's a short abbreviation there. But anyways, she wanted to get out. The Illuminati made sure she would be set up as an example. Look at the way her body was left. It was left in the exact position as the 18th major arcana card in the tarot deck, known as the Hangman. And if you check into the background of Charles Manson, he was a member of one of the front religious groups of the Illuminati, and that group was the Process Church of the Final Judgment. Remember that old group?
I specifically, I don't. Not off the top of my head.
Well, look up. I'm not sure if you can find it online because it's so old, but they were called the Process Church or the Process Church of the Final Judgment. The guy, I can't remember the name of it, but the Illuminati set him up as a messianic figure.
Okay.
And Charles Manson was one of his followers. And it was through that guy that Manson was recruited into the Illuminati. That's all it was another recruiting ground. Just like, G-Malay. You know, the G-Malay order of the Masons?
Yes.
That's a recruiting ground for the young people. If you want people, if you're looking for people, let's say, if they have a globalist mentality, well, now we're looking at places like Harvard, Yale, specifically, like Skull and Bones, Skull and Keys, or let's see, in England that would be like if you're going to become a Rhodes Scholar, you're not going to get into that unless you have that globalist mentality. These places are all recruiting grounds. They're looking for specific things, and if they can mold the person towards their way, and then they'll be initiated.
And speaking of molding people a certain way, Doc, this is something I wanted to talk with you about. We know that people are manipulated through their emotions, and this is done through, our own prides and egos, and with the image of the portrayal of society through TVs, movies, and that whole culture of violence and death. How I know the Illuminati manipulates everything, twists everything. How can we guard against this attack of our emotions? Because these our emotions, the way that they affect us, kind of messes up our thinking. We don't always think properly when we're angry and frustrated and sad.
Well, you're right. Well, let's look at what happened in Newton, Connecticut right now. People aren't thinking this through. They're too busy on emotional high, and the wrong kind of emotional high at that. The best thing, and I've said this, I don't know how many decades of my life now, the solution to this problem, especially with what you're talking about, is education. And this is why I've created this particular DVD series. Now, once I'm finished it, as I said, I've got 4 or 5 more I've already got planned to make. Now, people are not allowing their reasoning through, and this is the problem. We never sit back to examine the problem. We go with our emotions and run with it. Now, if people were truly educated to the truth of what's going on out there, they would be able to do something about it. They would, for the first time, considering the situation, they would actually be empowered to do something. If they would stop listening to their emotions, take a deep breath, take a step away from the situation and look at it with their intellect, they would be able to see themselves all the way through it and all the way through to the truth. And again, as I said, that's why the DVD series, I'm trying to educate people to the whole truth of what's going on so they can make their own decision now. Do we try to stop them or do we go like lambs to the slaughter? But at least they'll be educated now to make their own decision.
Very good. And folks, let me tell you something. Having the opportunity to watch some of Doc Marquis' DVDs, they are so enlightening. Watch them with pen and paper because you're going to want to take notes. They're that detailed. Doc, I got a question from Ruth. I don't know what part of the country or what part of the globe she's from, but she wanted to ask me or ask you about your knowledge of the 13th family bloodline being half Jesus, half Satan.
Oh, please. Okay. I'm not going to mention the name because, I'm a born-again Christian. I'm not going to, just outrightly say that something bad like this.
All right.
First of all, it's garbage. And I'm going to tell you why. Let me tell you this story, Ruth, so you can understand what's going on here. I was invited to do a particular convention in the Dallas, in the Dallas-Richardson area. Well, that was more like the Plano-Richardson area in Texas back in 1996. I had done my presentation, and when I sat down, about 50 people followed me outside and wanted to ask more questions. Well, we found a corner of the hotel where there was a round table, and they gathered around, and I just started, fielding whatever questions they were putting out. Well, one particular individual, and I'm going to tell you just what it was. It was so rude, he just literally pushed himself through those people, shoved that book under my nose and said, "What do you think?" Well, I felt like immediately saying, "You're the rudest person I've ever met," but I bit my tongue. I go through the list of the 13 names, and I said, "You're wrong. Only half of them are right." Well, he started throwing a hissy fit, and finally it came down to where I told him, "Leave now."
Wow.
And I've only had to do that 3 times ever since I was a Christian. That was the second time I told someone, "Leave now." Because I'll tell you right now, that list is far from accurate. 6 of them were right. The other 7 were wrong. And I can tell you right now, there are no top 13 lines. It does not work like that in the Illuminati. I mean, let's apply a little sense here. 13 bloodlines are going to keep the whole order of the Illuminati going? I think not, unless they're procreating like rabbits.
Ah, okay.
No. Those lines, and mind you, most of those lines, those bloodlines I saw, those were the new kids on the block. Those aren't the old bloodlines.
All right.
Let me tell you, Ryan, by the way, I did end up reading that book. Oh, let me tell you. It was selling for $100. People, I want to have paid 100 pennies.
Wow.
And I don't care if that person finds out about it or not. I was in it, he wasn't, and he's definitely lying.
Oh, well, okay, Ruth, there you have your answer.
Am I allowed to say that as a Christian on the radio?
I think you are.
Hey, if you were telling the truth, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
there it is.
Well, no, and thank you for that clarification. And Ruth, I hope that does answer your question. It certainly reinforces a couple of my thoughts from my research. And we'll leave it at that. Joe, you had a question about the Phoenix.
You and me, Dad, have talked about this privately, and a question from one of the listeners mentioned it, so I'll bring it up. The Phoenix Rising, the symbol of the eagle's wings, and it goes along with the new age that we're entering, the spiritual age, they say, of Aquarius. What is the importance of the Phoenix Rising? The symbol that seems to transcend from ancient Babylon to Egypt to Nazi Germany to America, of these eagle's wings is what they call them. But from my understanding...
Okay. It's significant, because, especially nowadays, more than any time in our history. And let me just get into a little occult theocracy here. If I said this before, just stop me. But you see, we back in around the mid-1990s, we started leaving the house of Pisces. One of the 12 astrological houses, one of them is Pisces. And we started leaving that house and entering into the house of Aquarius. Now, every house is 2,000 years in length. So the house of Pisces, or the age of Pisces, basically went from 1 BC to just about the year 2000. And we were transitioning over into the house of Aquarius. Now, Aquarius, anyone in the occult will tell you, is the house of the occult. So, the Phoenix, well, I should say the eagle, will be used more than any other time now, because it's actually symbolic of the reincarnation or the re-emergence of the ancient occult religions. That's why you're seeing this resurgence of all the old religions greater now than any other time in man's recorded history.
Interesting.
So we are, according to...
Yeah, you know what's even more interesting? Now think about this. We left the house of Pisces. Pisces is the sign of a fish. And who is known as the greatest fisher of all mankind?
Jesus,
yes.
Yeah, and now we're entering into the age of the enemy, the age of the occult, where the occult takeover must happen for the tribulation period.
So all the violence and craziness we have seen recently, I'll just say in the last 20 years, so we can just imagine.
You're seeing the birth pains of the occult age coming about. It's
unbelievable.
It's a spiritual shifting is what you're witnessing. Some people call it a paradigm shift or call it a spiritual shift. That's what you're witnessing right now.
Yeah, we've talked about the spiritual shift.
Oh, mind you, before I forget, I'm going to be covering part of this from January 4th through the 6th, because I'm going to be speaking in Dallas, Texas, at a huge gathering, a giant convention put on by David Hitt. It's called Future Congress 2. You can look it up on the net, Future Congress 2. There's going to be 50 speakers at this convention, more than 150 topics discussed. And this is going to be from January 4th through the 6th in Dallas, Texas at the DFW airport. Just go to the Hyatt Regency. You're right there. This thing is the largest event of its kind. I have never, ever, in all my days as a Christian, seen anything this big other than when they gathered together, the 40 scholars under one roof to write the KJV translation.
Wow. Is this this will be open to the public, Doc?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As I said, it's from January 4th to the 6th. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen, on under Future Congress 2. Just put in Future Congress and then the number 2, and you'll find it. And if there's any problems or confusion, just give me a call at my phone number, and if I can't help you, I can give you the phone numbers of those who can.
Future Congress 2.
But I'm going to be speaking there. I've been asked to speak 3 times there. My 3 topics, it's going to be Illuminati ABCs, aliens, fallen angels, or Antichrist, and the third one is going to be called Illuminati Gods at the Olympic Games. Those are my 3 topics.
Sounds very interesting. Yeah. So folks, Future Congress 2. And in fact, what we can do is we'll put a link to the information on our website as well. So anyone in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or anyone wanting to go certainly can look up that information via our link.
Yeah, and that speakers coming in from Hawaii and all the way from England for this. They've got speakers coming in from all those areas. Oh, yes, this is major, folks. This is one of those, events, almost once-in-a-lifetime events. If you can make it, ladies and gentlemen, do it. You won't regret it.
That's excellent. I wish we could be there. A follow-up question on the talking about the entering of the age of the occult. I know I don't want to ask you to set dates or anything, but the follow-up question was, when do you think that the tribulation would start? Would it start tomorrow at the beginning of the end of this age, or the beginning of the new age, or is this a soft time issue where it will transcend, months to years till it really, hits?
No. The timing is very specific according to the scriptures. It tells us, if you look at the Bible carefully in the prophecies, that once Israel became a sovereign nation, the next generation would be the last one. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more to it than just that. But that's the crux of it. And we know Israel did become that promised sovereign nation on May 14th, 1948. Now, the problem is, when is it going to begin? There's 4 different measurements of a scriptural generation. One is 35 years, one is 40, one is 70, and I think one is supposed to be 100 years. So, going by that, it can't be 35 and it can't be 40 because we're already well past those dates. 70 or 100 years, if it's 100 years if I remember. Those are the only other options left. The exact date, even the scripture tells us, only God knows that.
Yes, amen.
What I can tell you is if we look at the prophecies, it literally can happen at any time.
I agree, and that Lord comes like a thief in the night, as it says. And, we have a lot of debate here on the rapture. That's a touchy subject. People seem to be divided.
If you remember, Joe, I'm as soon as my pastor, you see, I just wrote a 27-page article, and I sent it to you, Joe, on the rapture.
Yes,
Once my pastor looks at it, and once one of my very dear friends at the ministry called Prophecy in the News looks at it, and I've already got the first person who I sent it to already go through it. Once I have all three of them write me back and let me know what they think, I'm going to be posting it on my website under the section called It's in the Bible. It's 27 pages long. I did not mean for it to be that long. I didn't even think it was going to be anywhere close to that long. But I did go to the scriptures, and I covered it the way I honestly thought it should have been covered. And, folks, take a look at it, and I have a feeling I'm going to see 7 different shades of hell to pay for this one.
Doc, I read it.
Let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of people having fatted roasted duck on Sunday morning dinner, that's for sure.
I got to tell you, it was when I read it, it resonated with me because on a number of reasons. One, the scriptural basis that the way you put it together, it's right on the money. It is also accurate with other people's beliefs that we've had on the show about which wrath is appointed to who, and when you get that released, we will definitely put that up on the website because people need to read that.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that to
it's
come out.
Very comprehensive and very well structured. Doc,
did you notice that both of you noticed that there is a definitive scriptural pattern there?
Oh, yes.
It repeats itself. It repeats itself, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and you have a very a great way of pointing that out, and it flows. I couldn't believe it was 27 pages because it did not read like a novelette or that type of a. It went very quickly, and you connected some dots there, so it's very good.
Well, the thing is, it's a very straightforward, very simple concept to understand that is found throughout the entire scriptures. And it's only when we put in our own opinions, which God never asked for, does the waters become murky. No, there is a pattern there, a repeatable pattern which, by employing the scientific method to determine if a fact is a fact is a fact, by this key repetition, we find out there is no other conclusion. It has to be the way it is. And I'm not going to tell anyone what it is. Read it for yourself. Once Joe and Doug put it on their site or when you see it up on my site.
Yeah, Doc, what we'll do is because we don't have clearance from you to post it. So
yeah, when we get it, we will post when you post it.
Yeah, when you post it, we'll link to it. That way, people can read it in its entirety. Just let us know when it's ready, or when you're comfortable posting it after it's cleared through your edits.
Just give it another week or two because I just have to wait for my pastor to apply and, my friend Bob at Prophecy in the News.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say about another week at the most.
Very good.
Well, Doc, we have some more callers on the line. We're going to take a few more calls before we hit the end of the show. We only got about 15 minutes left. This time went so fast.
And you've been very gracious, Doc, with your time, and I want to thank you very much. And folks, Doc is an in-demand speaker, and he's very much sought after. So we're very fortunate to have him as a guest.
Yes, we are.
It's always my pleasure to do this show. Trust me.
We're going to go to area code 541. You're live on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. What is your question for Doc Marquis?
Doc Marquis, hello?
Yes.
How you doing?
Good. I was just listening to your show right now, and actually what you just talked about, the rapture, because it divides a lot of the church, that was kind of what I was going to ask you, because it is in the Illuminati card game, along with the Messiah card, along with the... the world splitting into two halves, which the occult says that's the two dimensions that the world's going to split in, and, about delaying the rapture and all that stuff, and, all these other things. But if the enemy knows it's going to happen, and it's in their card game...
They prepared for it. For 75 years, they have been preparing a plan that is so huge in its scope and undertaking, it would almost cripple the imagination. But they've been working on it for 75 years, and trust me when I tell you, they're going to be able to do it. They can pull it off now. They really can. And with what you were saying about the Illuminati cards and the card games, ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, if you go to my website, I think the section I'm thinking of is called the Illuminati card game or the Illuminati New World Order card game. It's right there on the taskbar. When you get to the front page, look to the left-hand side, you'll see a taskbar. Scroll down, I believe it's two-thirds of the way down, but it will say something about the Illuminati card game. Go in there, look under what's called the Rapture. Those are the cards that your call-in right now is referring to. Okay, what else were you saying about that, please?
Oh, no, and just, they have the Messiah card already on that one, too.
Oh, well, don't forget to add in Charismatic Leader. The Charismatic Leader card has to come before the Messiah card. Those two cards are connected, but the Charismatic Leader must come first, okay?
Yeah, and I want to congratulate you on your explanation of Christmas, because my ex-wife, she is pagan, and she actually has my son right now, and they're probably going to celebrate Yule here in a bit, but, I'm praying that my son doesn't partake in that. But, yeah, I've been explaining this to my family about Christmas, because I've done the research myself before I even met you, and you have a brilliant way of explaining this, and it's true. I mean, there is no... me personally, I think Jesus was born, this is me personally, I think he was born on Tabernacles. It's an 8-day feast. He was circumcised on the 8th day, probably conceived on Hanukkah during the fall. That's just my personal, what I think. And if you're trying to calculate when he was born based on a solar calendar, then I think that's a wrong foundation to start off with anyway.
Okay.
Because I don't think the Israelites used the solar calendar to calculate their feasts.
No, they had a specific calendar that was broken up into 13 months. And I understand what you're saying, but let's still stick to what the scriptures tell us. We're not supposed to be putting one day above another.
Yes, and thank you for having me on. Thank you, guys.
No problem at all. And folks, on Doc Marquis' website, again, it's linked directly from our front page at HomelandSecurityUS.com. If you go to Doc Marquis' website, the Illuminati card game is the second to the last entry on the left-hand side. You click that, and it's got several subheadings there, one of which, of course, is the Rapture, and that has just a tremendous explanation, along with the figure of the card game, the Illuminati card, on there. So you can see the actual card along with the explanation.
Right, and the cards prophesied, among other things, the 9/11 event, the Fukushima Daiichi disaster, the BP oil spill, and so many other things. And it all came true.
Yeah,
and those cards, ladies and gentlemen, were printed between the years 1982 and 1995. Now, that's a 13-year printing, no coincidence. But interesting that the latest printing was 1995. So how could they have prophesied all those things have happened unless they planned for them to begin with?
Doc, do we know who printed them? I mean, who authored them, or who?
Well, it was under Steve Jackson. And it's interesting enough that I think it was either the CIA or the FBI that invaded Steve Jackson's headquarters because of what had happened during 9/11.
Oh.
I mean, the cards speak. The cards show, first of all, under the heading called Terrorist Nukes, it shows the Twin Towers, and it shows the first tower hit. You know, you see an explosion on the card. You don't see the plane, but you see the explosion like you did on television at the exact spot that the card showed this was going to happen. And then next, it shows the Pentagon also being hit. And according to what we were told, the Capitol in the White House were also slotted to be hit, but nothing happened. And that's exactly what happened according to the cards. And the first person we were going to blame was Saddam Hussein. And guess what? Saddam Hussein's card is there also. How could he have known is what the FBI was questioning.
Well, as well they should. I mean, it's not coincidental, obviously.
Not at all.
No.
No one could have guessed. No one could have guessed with that type of precision. That's impossible.
You know what, Doc? I sense. I sense these power brokers, these people behind the scenes. They're mocking us. They're laughing at us. They're doing everything in plain sight, aren't they?
Well, yes, and they have a right to, because so much of what they do is in plain sight. I'll give you, for instance, I've got a couple of photos from Disney television shows. One is on I can't remember what it was called, but it involved Donald Duck's relatives, the three little ducks, and his Uncle Scrooge. Now, on the background, you'll see the guy's going in for some type of checkup, but on the background is a wall chart, that they used to have letters on so they could measure your eyesight with. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but if you read that that eye chart, it says, ask about the Illuminati.
Whoa. Okay.
I got another one from The Sweet Life. It's on, those two, The Sweet Life of, it's called The Sweet Life. It's on those two twins, Zach and Cody.
Yes.
There's a school, a classroom setting where the two boys are talking. Now, if you look between the two boys and and look on the blackboard, it's saying Illuminati.
Wow. Okay.
All these examples that are being put out by Disney is telling me one of two things. Either they're sponsoring and believing what the Illuminati is saying, or the Illuminati has bought them up and is controlling them.
Doc, one more. I'm going to bring on one more caller before we get to the end of the show here. This is a caller asking about the Illuminati card game, but has a different twist on it, a different card. Nell, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. You're with Doc Marquis. Go ahead and ask him the question about the Illuminati card, about the 22nd, if I'm correct.
Doc, on December 22, 2012, New Age leader Barbara Mark Hubbard is calling December 22 a global birthday. And then George H. Walker Bush, he gave a State of the Union address in 1981 envisioning 1,000 points of light. And this Illuminati card that says 1,000 points of light. Do you know if that means anything for
Okay, let me explain this to you. When George Bush was standing up there calling for 1,000 points of light, he was referring to the 1,000-year millennial reign of Lucifer. You see, this comes all the way back from Adolf Hitler, again, one of the Illuminati's puppets. You see, the Illuminati believe they're going to be the people that reigns on the earth for 1,000 years and not Christ. Adolf Hitler, if you remember, was calling for the 1,000-year Reich. Reich is simply the German word for rule, okay, or the 1,000-year rulership. And in Hitler's case, he was calling for the rulership of Lucifer. George Walker Bush, when he was saying, I'm looking for the 1,000 years of 1,000 points of light, that's, again, the same reference to the 1,000-year millennial reign of Lucifer. And if you notice that card again, and I can see the card in my head. Again, you see, a background of a lot of stars, and it says 1,000 points of light. That's what he's calling for, the 1,000-year Reich, or the 1,000-year millennial reign of Lucifer. That's how they call it in the Illuminati. It's never changed.
Wow.
That's what George was doing when he was up there. He was first of all, if you notice, he was calling for the New World Order, and then a sentence or two after that, that's when he started talking about the 1,000 points of light.
Mel, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
All right, my friend. God bless you. Thank you for that question, my friend. Wow, that's pretty significant and pretty deep, Doc. And frankly, I recall that speech. It seemed when he talked about the 1,000 points of light, it seemed out of context during that speech. But now you've added
until you apply it to the New World Order. Remember, the goal of this Novus Ordo Seclorum is not only just to take over the world, like Hitler was calling. He was the first one, if you remember, like George Bush, but he called for the New World Order, and then he talked about the 1,000-year Reich. George Bush did the same thing, calling for the New World Order, but called it the 1,000 points of light. Light, illumination, light for Lucifer. Which is where you get the word Lucifer from, light.
Understood. Doc, in the waning minutes of our program, we do have one person that's asking, will we be able to stop or otherwise thwart the agenda of the Illuminati?
It goes back to what I've always said, ladies and gentlemen. Education is the key to the solution of the problem. If we don't educate ourselves to every which way about what's really, really going on in this life, we don't have a chance. They're going to take us over, and that will be it. It's only when you're educated that you see what's really going on, you see what they're planning ahead of time, and once you gather enough people who see that, then you can stop it. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, as I've already stated, that's why I have written this DVD series, and that's why I'm going to keep writing other series. I've got 4 or 5 more I've already got planned to do once I finish this one, so that people can get the whole truth, and by their own free will, they can make a decision to either do something or do nothing. But at least now they have the education, they'll have the tools to make the decision. I can't force them to. You have free will, I cannot impede upon that. All I can do is to educate you to the truth of what's going on, and by the grace of God, everyone will make the right decision. But again, you've got free will, I cannot tell you what to do. I can't force you. It's up to you.
And you have on your website a message of salvation, folks. I definitely would recommend reading that as well. That's quite a great message and kind of dovetails with what that listener question was as well.
And Doc, I want to thank you again for being on our show tonight and spreading the words, the message of the Lord, as well as exposing the evil where it is from your own personal experiences. You put a lot on the line to do what you do. We really respect you for that. You are a rare, diamond in the rough. Wish we had more people like you out there so we could stop this, but we know it's all under God's control. And I just want to say it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on again, and hopefully we can do this another time.
Doc, you've been very gracious with your time.
As I told you before, you just let me know when and where, and I'll be there. And don't forget, Joe, to send me that message, okay?
I wrote it down. I will do that for sure.
Thank you, my friend.
Because I can tell you right now, odds are I'll forget it.
Well, we won't, and we certainly appreciate your graciousness. Doc, thank you so much. Folks,
60 seconds.
Folks, you have invested very well, I might add, invested 3 hours of your time tonight. We do hope that you've benefited from the information imparted by Doc Marquis.
Yeah, and he has so much. I mean, talking with him on the phone, I could have talked to him for 7 hours.
I know.
It's interesting. Tomorrow night we are going to have on for the first hour Marinka Peshman.
Yes, she's the author of a new book about the Clintons and about the Foster suicide.
Yeah, just as long as the world doesn't end.
Yeah,
we'll have the show. But we will be here tomorrow, even if the world does end.
A little crispy around the edges.
Yeah.
Folks, I want to thank you again for listening to us, and God bless you. And Joe, it was a great program.
Yes, it was.
10 seconds.
We had a great night. God bless each and every one of you. Stay safe. Pray for all those lost souls who are worried about tomorrow, please. And we will see you tomorrow here at the same time. Have a good night.